ASUS and Computex had an insane amount of familiar and new tech coming from their ROG and normal consumer side like ProArt for example. We also saw new peripherals, monitors, motherboards, and other bits of tech we're excited to discuss in this video. Firstly, the biggest and most impressive area was the ROG booth, not just because of the way it looked, but by the amount of tech bits they were showing off. So let's dive in. I first raced over to the BTF motherboards that actually support rear connectors and an additional power connector slot for the new BTF GPUs. They also had a slot to install a high power connector capable of up to 1000 watts of power delivery, which means it's possible to have a true non-cable setup. Literally almost every single cable can be completely hidden now, including and especially that power connector for your GPUs that's always sticking out of the front. Right next to it though, you have the newest ROG XG Station 3 that leverages the new Thunderbolt 5 technology, which offers up to 80 gigabits per second for bandwidth. This sort of functionality enables the user to hook this up to any laptop that supports this interface to achieve high-end graphical power. Compatibility as well for GPUs are insanely modular since this stock doesn't have the constraints of a chassis, which is what most eGPUs suffer from. From what I was talking about earlier as well, with BTF graphics cards, this stock is user-friendly with those GPUs, making the setup look insanely clean with no cables. Next up with the 2025 edition ROG NUCs. They essentially overhauled the design of the chassis to make way for better airflow and performance. Comparing to last year's models, they've updated a couple of components like the NPU, which is now a 2nd generation Ultra 9. GPU as well, which has been upgraded to the new RTX 5080 laptop variant, and instead of a generic 2-fan cooling method, they've now upgraded to a triple-fan dual vapor chamber cooling method, which means a lot more efficiency when cooling. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth aspects of the device have also seen upgrades, but overall I just love the way it looks and performs. Another device that caught my eye was their newly designed and probably one of the most craziest routers I've seen on the market so far, which is the GT-BE19000 AI. When I first saw this, I thought it might have been a concept device, but ROG really went that way for showing off what true consumer networking power is capable of. First off, its tri-band system can achieve potential internet speeds of up to 1376 megabits per second on 2.4 gigahertz and an insane 11,529 megabits per second speeds. Now, to be honest, I'm not sure if there are any consumer-ready internet plans that high yet, especially in Australia, but yeah, ROG is essentially just flexing at this point. Another good feature that this has is VPN capabilities, which actually reminds me of our sponsor of this video, NordVPN. The internet can be a very sketchy and unsafe place if you don't take proper precautions. Being in a world where tech is never out of sight and practically always within arm's reach, you need to keep your privacy and security safe, just like you keep your physical well-being safe. And NordVPN is the perfect companion for all your devices that can achieve this. When you install their software, you basically don't need to worry about setting anything up. It just works. I'll be honest, criminals are starting to get really smart at infiltrating your personal data, especially through public Wi-Fi. What NordVPN can do here is encrypt your data, which means your information like your IP address and other bits of information is fully privatized and safe. Other examples are malware and ransomware. I personally think these are some of the most common cybersecurity risks that people unfortunately fall for, but NordVPN has certain threat protection options to make sure that you're not going to get into those cracks again. So take a look at our link provided below. Back to the video. ROG also had a mini booth showing off their themed Doom the Dark Ages components. I was finally able to get my hands on their themed 5080 GPU. They themed the whole GPU all the way down to the color of the heatsink, which is gold. Up until Computex, I was under the assumption that Australia wasn't going to get any of these cards, but I did get some confirmation that ROG is working on that part. Fingers crossed. They were also showing off their Hyperion theme case, which was also color green as well, with some small accent changes. Overall though, there isn't a huge difference between this one and the original case color and design. The peripheral space had some really sick items that they were showing off as well, but the two main peripherals that caught my eyes were the brand new Harp 2 Ace mouse and the ROG Falcata keyboard. Firstly, the Harp Ace has already seen audiences with their first generation variant, but ROG really pushed the boundaries on their next iteration. Now weighing 48 grams with a polling rate of 8,000 kilohertz, you'll find this mouse to be a very nice upgrade from your current gaming mouse, for example. The Falcata, on the other hand, was a really weird but innovative peripheral. From what you can see, the keyboard is chopped completely in half. I asked why they did this, and it's so that it can free up even more space when it comes to mouse real estate. Someone like me, for example, uses a low DPI, which means massive mouse movements. To top it off as well, this is a Hall Effects magnetic switch keyboard, which means you can set your switch trigger to activate at literally any distance. The final highlight, I think, in the ROG booth was ASUS TUF's Hatsune Miku themed peripherals. I hope I said that right. This includes a keyboard, headset, mouse, and mousepad. Since this is classed under tough gaming, you'll end up seeing this as a budget-themed peripheral set compared to Evangelion ROG that they did not too long ago. Either way, it's a fun new addition to the themed area of ASUS. ASUS also had their normal creator and business area. Not too much was highlighted in this portion besides some ProArt components that have loads of promise for future designs. For example, they were showing off their RTX 5080 SSD edition GPU, which actually has an inbuilt M.2 NVMe slot on it. And from my knowledge, this is one of the very few cards on the market for 50 series cards right now that will come with a USB-C output, which I think is pretty sick. Another cool ProArt product was their PA32QCV monitor. This has an insane 6K resolution with all the added ProArt necessities like insane high color accuracy, Thunderbolt 4, and an inbuilt KVM. Definitely something to rival Apple's Pro XDR displays. In the end, ASUS had, I think, one of the biggest boosts at Computex. Loads to look at and admire. I just hope that some of the items on this list actually make it into the Australian market soon, especially that Doom themed GPU. Besides that, we hope you enjoyed the video and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.